Hey everybody, what's going on? Dr. Chad Woolner here.
And Dr. Buddy Allen.
And this is episode 21 of the Health Fundamentals Podcast. And on today's episode, we're going to be talking about the secret to accomplishing all of your health goals. So let's get started.
You're listening to the Health Fundamentals Podcast. I'm Dr. Chad Woolner.
And I'm Dr. Buddy Allen. And this show is about giving you the simple but powerful cutting-edge tools you need to change your health and your life.
So sit back and enjoy the show as we show you the path to your best life down to a science.
So hey everybody, hope you guys are having an awesome day. I'm really excited about this episode because what we're going to be sharing here is really the secret to accomplishing your health goals, all of them. And quite frankly, you could literally take this same kind of formula and apply it into just about every aspect of your life, not just necessarily your physical health, but emotional health, relationship health, financial health, all of those areas in your life. This is a fairly fluid framework, I guess, in terms of being able to apply it to any of those aspects. But you know what? Let me preface this by saying that I think sometimes we have a tendency, at least I know I do, of when we hear something, maybe taking it a little bit for granted when we share what we share here, the punchline, if we will. We don't want that to be the case here with today's episode, because this truly can have the ability to change your life if you'll take what we share here and implement and really take it and learn. So we came across an article and it said this. It said, for people with a strong life purpose, making healthier choices may take less effort. The University of Pennsylvania did a study, and basically they said, why do some people easily meet their fitness goals and love eating healthy foods while others struggle to do either? Or I should say neither, right? Either. New research indicates that people with a strong sense of life purpose are more likely to respond positively to health messages and experience less activity in brain regions associated with conflict processing when exposed to these messages. So, Buddy, you have the unique perspective of having for 5+ years full-time been doing health coaching for people. Maybe for those listening, make sense of kind of what you hear from what it says academically, and then in the real world, kind of what you have seen, your experiences.
Oh, absolutely. You know, academically, I love what it says, because most people or many people struggle their entire lives with weight loss, with health management, with not liking maybe what they look like or how they feel, or maybe, you know what I mean? It's like
right.
we're really very good at comparing ourselves to others, which is probably the first horrible thing for us to do. In fact, certainly one of the most horrible things we could do to ourselves. But
right.
More importantly, it's like again, it's how we look at it. Like the people from the beginning, it's like there's something that's wrong with me. And again, it said in that little article there that it affects our stress hormones and our stress, like the stress centers of our brain. And that kind of is, without telling you exactly right now, that's kind of the key right there, is the way we look at things, the way we're approaching it. Most people approach weight loss as it's a negative thing that a problem I am trying to solve.
Right.
All right. Rather than something that you're trying to create, right? It's like you're not thinking about the future as far as what that's going to allow you to do and the life that will allow you to lead, the influence you may have. You know what I mean? Like
right.
We don't think about it in that positive sense, more of what can I got to get rid of this because I'm miserable where I'm at.
Right. So basically, if we could kind of pare that down psychologically or mentally, it's shifting from a state of running away from something to escape, versus a more healthy or a more effective shift would be moving towards something greater than that.
Yep.
Right. It's that little psychological shift that can make all the difference in the world. Right. And it's interesting that you say that, because one thing that I read in the book, and I know I've referenced it before, I'm going to reference it a lot, The Willpower Instinct. Mm-hmm. She talked about this whole idea of moral licensing. one way in which we self-sabotage is you'll be good for a period of time, quote unquote. You'll do really good on your diet, and then what you'll do is you'll indulge in something as a form of what we call moral licensing. I've been good, so therefore I deserve this. And she said in the book, really what that indicates is an identity crisis. And that's really, I think, at the core of what we're talking about here is this idea of what is your true sense of identity? How do you identify with yourself personally? And I would argue that for a lot of people, they have a very negative sense of identity, right? That they, at their core, at their essence, are lazy, that they're somehow bad, that they're somehow not good enough, that they're somehow less than, that they're lacking. And oftentimes what we do is we take those cues or those kind of social signals or reinforcements from what we see on social media. We compare everybody else's highlight reel to the struggles that we encounter, and no wonder that creates a sense of frustration and self-loathing and things like that. So anyways, so basically, okay, so now that we know this, how do we actually take that idea of kind of what we're calling a higher sense of life purpose, a stronger sense of life purpose? How does that translate into actionable steps? Well, what we've kind of done here is we've broken this down into what we would kind of give you as 4 very pragmatic steps that people can take to begin this process of helping them to make that shift, both mentally, emotionally, and then also physically in terms of the tactics. So let's break those down.
So breaking things down, basically, to start out, we have to be really honest with ourselves, okay? And again, this is looking at us. We're not comparing, We're not looking at someone else or anybody else for that matter. This is, if we want to improve and we want to get better, there's some things we have to do. All right. And to start, you have to have a true, honest picture of where are you right now?
Right.
And not again, this is just like if your goals are physical in nature and you want to lose weight and you want to be able to, and honestly, with getting healthy, it shouldn't be just about a scale. A scale to me is worthless other than telling us that we're moving in a positive direction or a negative direction.
Well, and I think too, what we're talking about here, this idea of getting objective data. We're not talking about emotionally filtering anything, because again, if you go back to what we talked about, I think it was episode 1, this idea that if you were to look at a spectrum on one scale, on one side of a spectrum to the other, there are 2 extremes. There's either self-defeating attitudes and behaviors, and then on the other end of the spectrum, there's self-deceiving. And we don't want to veer too far in either of those directions. And I think what you're talking about there in terms of getting a very fair assessment of where you currently are, what's reality, you don't want to color that too much either way. Like, oh man, I'm pathetic, I'm a loser, or oh, it's not that bad. All I've got to lose is 50 pounds. No big deal. Neither of those 2 extremes in terms of thought are going to really serve you. And so what it's got to be is okay, this is currently where I'm at. And that's useful because that gives us a starting point, right?
Well, and it also gives us, we've talked about this in business. There's a difference between being kind of coerced or pressured into doing something,
right,
as opposed to having tension to help you resolve something. All right. So the reason we find out where we are now, and we have to be clear with our goals. Vague goals are really easy not to accomplish. That's why people fail. A huge reason why people fail is because all they say is, I just want to lose weight. I want to get healthier.
Right.
I want to look better. All right. Those are all so vague. There's nothing to actually to show progress, to pull you through. It's just,
exactly.
There's no meat there. There's nothing that's powerful.
So step 1, just so we're clear, is get an accurate picture of where you currently are at. You even said, using a scale can be useful, but look at multiple factors, not just weight.
You bet. Measurements,
a pair of pants. And that's only physical too. I mean, look at where you're at. You could even use a journal. I would highly recommend getting a journal, right? That's an important part. And marking down in terms of, on a scale of 0 to 10, and this may not seem as objective, but I think I would argue that you can turn seemingly seemingly subjective things into objective things if you know how to look at it the right way. So where are you in terms of your relationships with your spouse or significant other, with your kids, on a scale of 0 to 10, 10 being amazing, 0 being you're completely failing? Where would you rate yourself in terms of that? And again, doing your best to not emotionally color those things, but just giving it an accurate. And you can look at things in terms of, if you need more objective data, look at, well, on average, how many hours per week do I spend with my kids or my spouse? Do I go on dates with my spouse? Do I, look at different objective things that you either do, benchmarks, whatever that might look like. So if you're talking about physical health, looking at not only a scale, but looking at measurements. You could look at your BMI, you could look at your body fat percentage, you could look at your level of how many times a week do I exercise right now, how many times a week do I eat out fast food, get as much data, I guess, as you can and or you want to look at, to really give you the most accurate picture possible. So that's step number 1, right? Measuring where you're at, getting a clearer sense of your current state. What's step number 2?
Step number 2 is really finding out not necessarily what you are trying to do, but who are you trying to become.
That's it. Right? That's a great point.
So you are where you are now, and then it's what are the goal? What's the goal?
Right.
And again, the goal, we need to set goals up correctly, because by setting things up incorrectly, it can, basically be good or bad as far as helping us actually achieve it. So again, and the reason we say, the what is not nearly as powerful as like who and why, and that power.
Right.
That's huge. Like your goals should mean something to you. They should, like, you should be able to imagine, how is it going to feel when I can look in the mirror wearing this pair of pants or this bathing suit and really love what I see.
Right.
Or to be able to run and not be winded, or to be able to, there's a million different things that could be very meaningful to you. And your goals need to be meaningful, because weight loss and just a number is not meaningful. Even looking sexy in a bathing suit or good in that's not that meaningful.
Right. It's not. And what you're talking about there is a really important concept. I first learned about this idea, really honed in on it, a really good book. It's called Atomic Habits. And he talks about this concept, or this idea of, instead of starting with what you want, start with who do you want to be? How do you want to identify with yourself? And again, kind of going back to the original kind of point here, is that most people who don't have a strong sense of purpose typically have a fair, I think it's safe to say, a negative self-identity, not the most ideal or optimal self-identity. And so by starting with this idea of, or at least step number 2, then saying, who do I want to become? What that does is that makes the rest of the process, that makes the what's fall into place relatively easy. Perfect example. If you self-identify as a lazy slob, then the what is going to be pretty straightforward. What do lazy slobs do?
Nothing.
They're couch potatoes. Yeah. They watch lots of TV. They eat what they want when they want. You know what I mean? If that's how you self-identify, I know that's overly simplistic, but it's true. But if all of a sudden you were to start to shift and truly internalize a new self-identity, that I'm a healthy person, that I'm a runner, or I'm somebody that loves fitness, or whatever it is that you do, or that whoever it is, I should say, that you want to become, all of a sudden the what's kind of fall naturally into place. Well, if I identify as a runner, what do runners do? They run. Mm-hmm. Do runners eat crappy food? No, they fuel their bodies for their running. This is one of the reasons why, if you look at like movements like CrossFit, for instance, are so powerful, is because people, for the most part, who do CrossFit aren't just casual gym goers. They're not just random people. They identify as, I am a CrossFitter, right?
You bet.
It's like a lot of these new fitness movements, you look at people who are marathoners, you look at people who are ultra marathoners, you look at people who are triathletes, you look at people who are, you fill in the blank there. These people, I identify as being athletic. I'm an athletic person. I love playing soccer. I love playing basketball. Identify whatever you identify with. It largely somewhat takes a lot of the mental energy away from figuring out the what, because it's very natural in terms of the consequence, so starting with, and this would really be, this step number 2, the same sort of idea of expanding your vision, your life purpose, because the who really helps solve that as well.
Well, if you need to lose 80 pounds and you're like, oh, I just want to lose 10 or 15, there is no meaning behind 10 or... I'll tell you what, a piece of pizza tastes way better than 10 or 15 pounds.
Right.
However, if your 80 pounds is going to allow you to go on a trip and go on a backpacking trip or go do something that you've dreamed of doing your whole life, guess what? Now that piece of pizza has almost no meaning because you're focused on something that's much more important.
Right.
So it does make a huge difference. And then really that next step from number 3, it's breaking it down.
Yeah.
You have very clear goals and outcomes that you're shooting after and aiming towards. Now,
as a result of the purpose and identity that you've established.
And now you look at that distance between where you are now, where you want to be,
or who you want to be,
who you want to be, and then you start breaking it down into small little actionable pieces. All right. Because like we frequently say, is getting healthy or being healthy it's about consistency.
You bet.
Doing those small, simple things.
And consistency is about simplicity.
Exactly.
Right.
So, just break it down. Don't just know that everything takes time. And there was one other, as you were talking earlier, there was something that I think is also critically important. And I've learned over the years of working with hundreds and hundreds of individuals who are losing weight is people have a tendency to isolate themselves when you are not where you want to be, or you think that you're unhealthy, or I've never been able to. You feel you put yourself in this category like, I'm not pretty, I'm not healthy, I suck.
You feel very isolated.
Yeah, you kind of distance yourself, and the truth behind that is we are all, even from the unhealthy to the very healthy, we are all more alike than we are different.
Well, and not only that, but I would also kind of say as well, we as human beings, one of the most fundamental human needs that we have is connection.
Yeah.
Right? Think about it. When babies are born, one of the things there's a term clinically that they use. It's called failure to thrive.
Yep.
And it comes from isolation. When babies are isolated, it's not just a oh, they're going to be sad or they're going to cry. No, they are not going to survive. They need connection, and that doesn't change as we get older.
Nope.
We need that same human interaction and that connection. And so I think the point that you were alluding to there is working with others, and more specifically, even looking for a mentor or a coach,
which is
somebody
part 4 of what we were going to talk about.
Yeah.
Part 4 of this whole kind of way to start achieving your goals, especially with respect to your health, is find someone to help you.
Yeah.
Find someone to model after. Find someone who's doing it right.
Right.
And do what they do. It really is as simple as that. Do what they do.
Following proven steps and formulas.
There's actually a tremendous amount of research out there that suggests you will become like the people you associate with.
Absolutely.
All right. And
that could be a scary thought, I think, for some people,
sure.
Cutting out cancerous relationships out of their life, but yet that's such a necessary step for people to become the best version of themselves. And it doesn't have to be this personal issue,
Sure.
in that process. It's just what you got to really make the decision of what's going to be best for you. And sometimes that does involve, I think of something Tony Robbins said. He says, there's only 4 ways to change your life. And they are: do more of something, do less of something, start something, or stop something. Right? That's it. Those are the only 4 ways to change your life. And so, in terms of this, the stopping something could be associating with negative people that could be draining you,
You bet.
And so it really is, you want to surround yourself with people that lift you up and help you. And at the same token, too, what you don't want is you don't want to be surrounded by a bunch of people who are going to allow you to be complacent.
Oh, sure.
Who are just going to...
You need to be held to a higher standard.
Bet.
That's the reason you need a coach.
Yeah.
Right?
I've known people, and I've known friends who surround themselves with others who will kind of help them self-soothe.
Coddle them.
Coddle them, and or just kind of celebrate with mediocrity, together. And that doesn't help either. What you're looking for are people who will provide you with love and understanding, but at the same token, not simply accept mediocrity from you, but accept a higher standard and hold you to that higher standard and help give you that necessary structured tension,
You bet.
right? Structured tension to help you help pull you to ultimately the person that you want to become. So let's review real quick, kind of recap again. What are the steps? Steps 1 through 4. If you want to improve anything in your life, there's a simple 4-step formula, right? And it's this idea, overarching all of it, is to expand your life, a sense of your life purpose, right? What's a greater purpose, a greater vision, right? There's that verse in Proverbs that where people have no vision, they perish, or when my people have no vision, they perish. We can kind of use that same sort of idea there. But so step number 1
is know where you're at right now.
Know where you're at.
And a true, unemotional, like, where am I at?
Yeah. Step number 2.
Step number 2 is who and what and why do I want to change, or
right? What's the vision?
What is my goal?
What's the goal? Yeah,
and a very meaningful goal and a very specific goal.
Yeah.
Number 3 is break it down into bite-sized pieces.
Bite-sized pieces.
Make it actionable. Make it something that you can do that is simple,
actionable,
but
trackable.
You can be consistent with.
Yep.
And then lastly is just find someone to mentor you, to walk, to follow, to lead the way. And surround yourself with people that are gonna support you in this journey.
Absolutely. So hopefully this has been helpful for you guys. Hopefully, if nothing else, maybe this has given you a little bit of perhaps motivation and a little bit of maybe sparked something within you to begin this process and maybe help bolster your courage a little bit, because it can be scary. Change is always scary for us, right? So,
always.
So anyways, hopefully this has been helpful for you guys. And if you know others that can benefit from this message and other messages that we share on the podcast, share it with them. And we look forward to sharing more with you guys on upcoming episodes. We'll talk to you later.
Thanks for listening to the Health Fundamentals Podcast. Be sure to subscribe so that you stay in the loop and in the know with all of the cutting-edge health information that we share. If you know other people that could benefit from this information, please share it with them as well. Also, be sure to give us a review. These really help us to ultimately help more people. Last but not least, if you have questions that you want answered live on the show, or if you have ideas for topics that you would like us to cover, please shoot us an email and let us know at info@thehealthfundamentals.com.